Kevin, thanks for being here today. And for those of you watching in, we are going to do a live case study unpacking what happened in Kevin's business that helped him finally break through the $1 million a year level and has now done $1 million a year as an online fitness coach every year for the last 3 years. And so what changed? What can you apply in your business? And so if you're listening in, we're excited for this conversation. So Kevin, let's go back to pre 2020, 2021, when you and I started working together. Tell us about the early stages of Kevin becoming an online fitness coach so people can understand kind of your story. Let's start. Yeah. So let's start with that early stages.
Yeah. So for me, I've been coaching technically since like 2015. I think I took on my first couple clients. And so started out low ticket. I was in pharmacy school and just fitness was something that I really grew to love. And kind of on Instagram, I was posting content there, trying to provide value and just tell my story. Stuff that I wish people would have done. Like, I think some popular influencers like, oh, they look really jacked, but like their captions like flex emoji and that's it. But for me, I'd like to hear, okay, so what got you there? What did you do? And I think that those were really useful for me. So I try to be that person because at that time, I've been training since 2009, so 15 years in the gym at this point. And even when I was like 5, 10 years, I learned a lot along those lines. So I want to always teach people from my mistakes and my story. And the thing around that time with like Instagram influencers is just like everyone offers online coaching. DM me for online coaching. So I was like, that's the next natural step. Start offering coaching, and it was like 12-week program for like $250. I think eventually over the course of like 2-3 years, eventually I was doing like $400 packages for like 12 weeks. The majority were going to be in that 250 range. So as I came up towards graduation from pharmacy school at Rutgers, I knew my goal was to be an online fitness coach full-time, just something I really love to do. Pharmacy school, you know, I did well in the exams and stuff, but I don't think I was at like, the highest caliber in that thing. And just needed something on my weekends and like, all right, let me learn a little bit more about like metformin and stuff. So for me around that time, I knew I needed to get a mentor. I knew I wanted to get to somebody who's made the mistakes that, you know, I've made, learned from them. And then I got started with, you know, a mentor at that time. I finished up. It was the last day of rotations, pharmacy school rotations. So we pay tuitions to work 40 hours a week, but the last day I committed, I spent everything but $300 in my bank account. Big investment for myself. I'm a frugal guy, but I bet on myself. I even got my exam booklet for the NAPLEX for pharmacy, which you have to pass the exam before you actually practice. And it still has the plastic wrap on it today. Because, got started with a mentor, and then things really kind of took off from there. And my goal was to make online coaching something feasible for me to focus on full time to provide for me and my family. And then I was able to do that within like, you know, the 12-week span or something that I gave myself a deadline. And that was 2018. And now 5 years later, or what is it? Yeah, 6 years later, like we're still in the game and kind of like fitness, just keep learning, keep growing.
Love that, Kevin. What about being an online fitness coach was more of the dream for you, even though you graduated with an incredible degree and could have been a really great career? What was it about that? What was it about being an online fitness coach that you're like, that felt more like the dream for me?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of like, what do I spend my weekends learning about or doing? And I know a lot of people, like I was a gamer growing up, and at one time I wanted to be a professional bowler. At one point, I thought
did you really? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, until we pulled away the bumpers, and then I was like, oh wait,
maybe I'm not gonna be a professional at this.
Maybe not, but you know, a 10-year-old can always dream. But I think I've had those different things. It's kind of like, what do you like to do in your free time? What do you find yourself doing? For me, I was on a lot of times. It's like I like to work out. I like to learn about working out. I talk to my friends about working out. Like I'm trying to learn from like the Lane Nortons, the Eric Helms, the Alan Aragons, and that was the stuff that was really exciting to me. Like, how do I do this thing a little bit better? And for me, it was just like, okay, what do I do in my spare time that gets me excited to learn? And that's why I knew that in my spare time, it wasn't like, you know, pharmacy topics, but of course I understand like sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. But like for me, I knew that I had a lot of time in this game. I was learning a lot and I really enjoyed the aspect of learning. So as far as me, I'm a pro natural bodybuilder now. And it's just like, it's a game that I always want to play as far as bodybuilding. And I think that I can dilute that or 80-20 it and make it efficient for other people to get, you know, in good shape if they don't want to be a pro bodybuilder. So for me, bringing it all back around was something I love learning about, something I guess the quote unquote passionate about, but oftentimes passion is just the stuff that you end up seeing yourself get good at after spending a lot of time at it.
Mm.
And so those were the things where it was really enticing for me to be in fitness in some capacity. And if I even said I would do my schooling differently, I would have wanted to be a sports physician or something along those lines, or be in that. So I think for me, some people, they just love business, want to get into business. For me, it was like, I love fitness. Let me find a way to make a business through fitness.
You are a 7-figure fit pro today. You just talked about the dream of being an online coach. And when you first got into it, you said something along the lines of like, could this be what provides for my family? When you first became an online fitness coach, was doing $1 million a year in the dreams?
No, I can't. I come from a pretty, I guess I would say, quote unquote, humble beginnings. I know everyone says that, but my grandma was buying our groceries for my family when I was very young. I didn't learn that until like, I think it was 2 Mother's Day ago, when we were talking about me and my family starting having kids, and my parents were like, yeah, you know, like we just said, live and let God. And I was like, Dad, you were making X, and like you thought you're like the whole family, like you got 3 kids, and they're like, yeah, and mom's just like staying home mom. And so I learned that. So growing up, like kind of all my needs were met. My family's awesome. I mean, a lot of respect. And all those things, I never like had big financial targets or goals. I never thought that I'd be like, you know, millionaires or anything like that. Just like hasn't been something for me. But then kind of like bodybuilding, like video games, you kind of level up, and it's kind of like business in a way became the video game. I talked to Nicole, my wife, a lot, and it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of a different video game where now like you acquire gold, but it's actually like money that you can then allocate and do stuff with, like in the real world. So in that way it's cool, but no, I never figured myself or had aspirations to be, you know, millionaire, entrepreneur. I don't think that I did well in school. I was kind of always like a rule follower. And so I didn't really have a lot of those rebellious general stereotypes of entrepreneurs. And for me, it was just kind of something that I had a calling, and then like just want to be really good at it and wanted to learn from people that are, you know, doing it. And that kind of like led us to where we are today. And I can't say it was honestly like, I want to be a millionaire. It was like, I want to do this thing that I love, provide for my family. And I can say from, it wasn't an overnight success, like tip of the iceberg type stuff. Like we can say where I am 6 years later, same thing when someone sees me for the first time, they don't know I've trained for 15 years in terms of, you know, physique stuff. But I've been in business for, I think we're closing in, like it's been like 9 years in total. And the first 3 months of high ticket coaching, I think I made, it was like I think it was like 6, 7, and 8K in a month, like 5, 7, 8. And it's like, that's not 100K months, but you know, you stay in the game, you get a little bit better over time, and you stick it out, and then kind of, you know, give it time. And now we're here.
Let's go. Last question to the early stages, then we'll move into your growth stages. So you hire a mentor, you have $300 left to your name. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, I think so I used to work in pharmacy school. I did interning at CVS on the side, and then I just super frugal guy. I was like, hey, I already paid for, my family paid for the meal plan, so or I have student loans paying for the meal plan now. So I was like, no, like I'm not going out for a $15, you know, thing of noodles on Easton Street at Rutgers. No, like I'm gonna commit to my 2 meals a day at the dining hall. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet, all-you-can-eat grilled chicken, and so super frugal guy, and that's why I was able to have, you know, I guess a couple grand in my bank account. And it was kind of like, well, I have nothing that I'm, you know, I don't need a watch now. I'm like, what, 22, 24, and it was there.
Having, you know, I spent time on Rutgers, so knowing the Rutgers dining hall, I'm just trying to picture the damage you did on the all-you-can-eat Rutgers buffet dining hall.
So it was funny. I was so like shout out to Nancy. But like when I would swipe my card at the front, I was homies with like the ladies at the front desk. I was like Nancy as I walk in. She's like, Kevin. So like we were best friends. But it was funny too. Like sometimes the people that were like grilling the chicken, it was in this corner of the dining hall. And I would walk over there, and then sometimes it depends who was cooking the chicken that day. Like sometimes they would like look at me with disgust. They're like, no, limit 2 breasts. And I'm like, I'm trying to take like 8. And I'm not
trying to take 8.
I'm not one of those guys who's gonna take it home. And like I tried to respect the rules of the dining hall. They're like, you eat the food there. I have a high appetite. And it was funny. So one time, one of the ladies, she was kind of giving me stuff, and she talked to the manager. And the manager, like, he went over and talked to me. He's like, hey man, I know you lift weights and stuff. He's like, you don't got to worry about it. Like there's no limit of 2 chicken breasts. Like you do your thing. I see you're not taking it home or anything. So like eat it here and you're good. And he was like a super fit guy. And then like now I'm homies with the manager of Bush Dining Hall. And so it all worked out. But again, like that's me being, I typically try to follow the rules. Yeah, just I want to get my protein in for the day.
That's amazing, amazing. We got away from the actual question. The question was going to be, so if someone's watching and they're more on the newer side, what were the mistakes you were making pre-mentorship that if you could go back to that version, you're like, this is what I learned to correct once I finally had a mentor. What were the mistakes you were making pre-mentorship?
So I can remember I had 50 clients going at one time, and I think I was on pace to make like 30 grand that year. So it would have to be a side hustle. So
Yeah.
for me, and I had 50 these quote unquote low ticket clients, and one thing that frustrated me for sure was I had around 50 people on my roster, and only like 5 of them would send me their check-ins on Saturday with their progress photos and a write-up. So 10% or less, and then I got to follow up with the rest, and maybe I get 5 or 10 more. So a lot of people were just paying and then just not doing anything, just not showing up, not talking to me anymore. And you know, for what it is, we pay attention to what we pay for, and that was a lesson I was learning then. And again, humble beginnings. You know, money was, you know, even spending $400 on anything, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And that I think when we get into, you know, our actual careers and stuff, like we start realizing, you know, if I'm an intern at CVS during college part-time, I may make 10 grand a year. So like, I'm going to be very frugal with it. But, you know, when we're in our careers, sometimes you have, you know, a different set of money that you can invest in what you want to prioritize. Like if you want to be a great painter, you may do a painting program. If you want to get in super good shape, you may invest highly in another program. But for me, I was very frustrated that like not a lot of my clients were showing up powerfully, and that's something hard where people are paying for a service and like they're just kind of like, if they don't pick up the phone, then like you can't talk to them.
Yeah.
So that was one that was really challenging for me. And also with low ticket prices, I knew that I would have to have 100 or 200 clients if I wanted to make a robust income. So 50 people to make 30 grand, then it would have been, I think, you know, 100 people to make 60 grand. And that I would be like, okay, then I'm good. Like I probably can, you know, pay the food, pay the rent, and probably be in a good position. But I knew that my results would dip. I wouldn't probably be following up with people the same way. I don't know like how I would handle my schedule. And then also you're going to be in that situation where you're always trying to, you know, you got to deal with client churn when you have 100 people. Like even if you have 10% churn, there's 10 new clients you got to find. So you got to market, sales, etc. And so that was really challenging for me. And those were some frustrations I had early on. And I was just like, how is this going to be feasible? Let me find out somebody who already has figured it out. And that's why I leaned on mentorship.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing, Kevin, I love about you, and I do believe is a foundational key to your success that you've said throughout this conversation so far that I want to highlight for people listening in. When you said you started on social media, you're like, I just wanted to lead with value. Like I wanted to teach people what I wish I had learned when I was getting started. And then even with your programming, you deeply cared that people weren't checking in with their results. You cared that people weren't getting results from you because they weren't checking in. And I do think that at the end of the day is the foundation of what makes your program great and makes you successful is that you care about people. And I want to preface that because we're about to talk strategy and everything like that, but strategy is part of it. But heart and actually caring about the human beings you deal with will always be the fuel, in my opinion, of what makes this type of business successful. So thank you for always bringing us back to that core. Okay, so we're at late 2020, 2021. Where was the business at that point? What were you feeling stuck with revenue-wise? And then we'll unpack what changed.
Yeah, so in 2020, and so the first mentor I worked with was Sterling, and he helped me get things definitely off the ground. You know, shout out to Sterling.
Yeah.
And around that time, he had the target was called Diamond, hitting an 83.7K month, and that would be $1 million run rate, and that was kind of this elusive target. And so for me in 2020, like we had grown a lot, built a team, getting our clients great results, social media was moving well. And so 2020, starting out that year, it's interesting how sometimes businesses will grow stepwise. You think it's going to be like that, and then people think it's like logarithmic. For me, especially, this was very obvious in 2020. It was very stepwise. So this first step, we got stuck at 60K. And so the first 5 months of 2020, we were right around that 60K received. Then we broke it in June. We hit 75. And then we hit that the next 5 consecutive months. So step 60, and then here, and we were targeting this, this elusive run rate. Finally, that broke in November. We finally broke that elusive number, but that's kind of where we were stuck at around then. 2020, I mean, that was like 24 years ago. I think around that time, you asked also like what were we, challenged with or struggling with at that point?
Yeah.
I think it would be client churn. And then also just like not having a reason to stick around for the program. So
Mm.
at that time, we were kind of like, okay, your goal is to lose 30 pounds. Okay, that's going to take us probably around, say, 20 weeks to hit it. And then, hey, let's tackle an extra 10 weeks for maintenance or something. So 30-week program here. And then we're going to do, the next person's, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, let's do a 65-week program.
Yeah.
And the tough thing with that, when you sell such long programs from day one, there's
Yep.
no sense of urgency to implement. We sold, I think, we had 2 people sign up for like 84 weeks. They had big weight loss goals. They had great goals. But I feel that, the structure wasn't serving them in the way that, oh, you have 80 weeks to do something. We got all this time, so there's no sense of urgency to actually do anything. Yeah. That kind of, they can just getting kicked, even though they had accountability, they had the program. But it just like the sense of urgency wasn't there. So what we struggled with then was, I think that we could have given with more sense of urgency and a shorter intro program, we would have been able to have people, more, okay, it's do or die. Let's get things done.
Yep.
And secondary to that, a vision of what to look forward to, once the program's done, like, why should they stick around? Like, what's that next thing that they could be striving for? And I think that those were 2 things that I think were big for us around that time.
And a lot of times, Kevin, when we're kind of stuck at a revenue level in business, we can tend to think, man, if I was just getting more leads right now, or if engagement on Instagram was higher, or if my following count was going up, not down, or whatever it is, then we would finally break through a revenue level. I'm sure you thought those things at certain times, and it's not that they're wrong, but you and I were kind of recapping as we got started with this conversation, the things that really changed when you and I started working together that have been part of the puzzle piece going to the next level was you dialed in that front end program, you dialed in a retention process, and you dialed in what we call the maximization model, and is, in other words, how to get more from the same leads you're already getting, how to get more sales, how to get more efficiency out of the same leads you're already getting. Is there anything else you would add that were like some of the big pillars that you felt like were changing when you and I started working together going into 2021?
I think also, I mean, if we're talking about that time period, I mean, also just like in general is like learning how to hire, how to keep a team organized, communicating. And I'd say like a lot of, I mean, I think leadership is one of those things, like it's like saying when someone says I eat healthy, it means so much that it means nothing. And so when it comes to leadership, I think it's just like, a lot of it's being able to lean into difficult conversations when someone's being like a high achiever, like, I think with coaches, with leadership, like I think some of the best compliments are, I forgot who Jordan's coach was, but I remember people have credited their coaches, like they believed in me more than I believed in myself. So, oh, you hit a 30-point game? Hey, like, can we hit a 32-point game rather than saying, oh, good job. So I think for me, also being able to communicate to my team, how to be a leader, how to have difficult conversations, and just also like, I'd say community wise, having people around me that push me to be better. And like, a lot of those things I think are some of the other things, just like overlying or underlying are like things always, trying to be worked on and learned as well along the way.
Pull on that string a little bit more, and specifically, in 7-figure CEO, right, in our community, having your own tribe around you helps you, but specifically, you've heard Jen now say this, you've heard Angelica now say this, you've heard Tova now say this, like being in Champ Dev, yes, we learn content, and yes, we learn leads, and yes, we learn retention, but honestly, one of the most important things is I keep learning and growing as an actual leader. When I say pulling that string a little bit more, like how have you come to see that leadership is sometimes the actual unlock to the next level before any of the other things we thought we needed?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think, so I was so leadership was always something interesting to me back in high school. And I say this because leadership as well, it means a lot of things to different people. And there's a lot of different leadership, like strategies and ways. And I kind of think of it like fundamentally as like, you got to lead by example to some way. And usually it's like when someone's a high achiever in some area, like how do they distribute that to others or like help them show up like the same way? Because social media is leadership. You're communicating value. You're teaching people how to do what you've done. So you're leading others there. It's influence. With a team, how do we, lead them to an outcome together and like make sure everyone understands their role? But yeah, with leadership just in general, I feel that for me in high school, so I was class president junior year. I was I was senior VP because I didn't want to make a speech, terrified of public speaking.
I
And
wish we
so
had that picture right now to show everybody.
see me just looking down, like I was like, I hope I don't have to say anything at
Yeah,
graduation. And I still had to, which so I should have just gone for the prez again. But the
yeah.
funny thing, my point here is in basketball and football, I played those, and I wasn't a leader on those teams because we had people that were more vocal that I thought of as like, a general
Mm,
leader, amps people up, gets people motivated, gets them up, can do the speech, the hoorah, let's
sure.
go before the game. And I never thought of myself as someone like that, a
Mm,
hoorah motivator, energizer. But in track, I was a captain. And so kind of for me, it was just like I as best as I can lead by example. Yeah, I'll communicate with you on like how to get better at your thing, what's worked for me. But I'm not great at like a hoorah guy, like yelling to
yeah.
energize people. That's what I thought leadership was. And
Mm,
so for me, just learning, I think it's like being able to have difficult conversations, helping bring the best out of people, having people know that you believe in them and like setting them up for their best success, which
yeah,
means social media, that value is helping, being a leader there in
yeah.
your business, being a leader there. So leadership, I think, yeah, leadership is going to be everything because I think it's also like even in our personal
Yeah.
lives, you got to lead something in your family and setting up events, setting up like experiences. So I think there's a lot to that in terms of leadership's the game to play.
And it continues to be an honor of mine watching you grow as a leader, Kevin. Um, and for someone watching it, listening in that might think learning leadership is one thing, and then all of a sudden you make more. It's like every level I see you keep rising, there are new leadership challenges that you need to keep tackling. So it's one of those ongoing skills and games as we rise in business. Okay. Let's give the people some value, like as far as like strategic value. So we'll tackle these 3 points on the strategy side. So you went from having like, well, one, you did low ticket at one point, and then you had these like unlimited programs, but it hurt your ability to grow to the next level because you now had program churn and everything like that. Number one, what was the big change or realization you had about how you wanted to structure your front end program and how you could even raise the price as one of the things that got you to the $1 million a year level? Walk us through what you learned there and what someone else could take away around that as well. The design of your front end program and the raising of the price.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the raising of the price, I feel like that was something every time because I don't know, maybe the frugal upbringing, et cetera, et cetera. Like that was always tough for me. Like when I joined Sterling's program, it was like charge a minimum $500 per month.
Because you were charging how much per month at that point?
Yeah, for me, I was charging like $80 for like college students and then like maybe 130 per month for, adults.
Yeah.
So a big jump for me, and that like really had me, step into kind of like a different hat and like kind of like, really it's kind of, young Kev like learning how the world works. And it's like, wait a minute. And this is what I think any online coach should reflect on. The gold standard today is personal training. Personal training, it's going to be probably like $100 a session. And like we all know, if you really want to build muscle, like you're probably going to want to train more than twice a week. But let's just say it's 2 sessions per week, $200. That's 52 weeks. It's over $10,000 for 2 personal training sessions. And the thing that frustrates me so much with that is people that I've seen with personal trainers, and I have friends that are personal trainers, but they say it's like trying to deliver to someone with 2 inches tied behind their back. And why do people tend to get personal trainers to start going to the gym? They want to lose fat. If by just working out twice a week, are we going to guarantee we can lose fat? No.
No.
You need to give the support, if anything, if you just like were an accountability coach on nutrition, like you could get better outcomes for the people for what they want than what is being charged so heavily, thinking that that's what's going to get them there.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost in integrity to get people to buy into your program because you can give them more support and you can give them all-encompassing support. So, oh, your training programs are here. Here's how to do the technique. We're going to check it on a weekly basis as well. We can do Zoom. You got my phone number or you got me on Trainerize, message me anything throughout the week instead of, hey, you only have 60 minutes that we're going to warm up, talk about training, talk about nutrition, maybe. And then like, we're actually going to get a good workout and probably just talk about how life is in the middle of your set. So all those reasons, I feel with an integrity that if that's something where, for a a 12-week program that's $2,400 for a personal trainer, if you can get better results for your clients when they have that same outcome they want, lose 15 pounds of body fat, you almost owe it to them to get that same buy-in where they show up twice a week, or where they show up, which they were not with me when I was very low ticket, which was frustrating to me. So we pay attention to what we pay for. That's my first.
Love it. Love it.
The other piece, so that was something that I had to work through when I kind of realized, like, for me, that helped me, just like coming from, wow, $1,500 is a lot of money, but like for the value you can provide and the outcome you can get people to repeatedly, oh, we're doing better than personal trainers. We have a higher value there. And so that, I think, was one thing that helped me kind of get in the mental frame of like, okay, raising my prices is probably more of a service to the people I'm going to work with rather than a disservice at that time when it was only, $150 a month, if that. The next piece, what the big change that I made in structuring, the front end program was to get a repeatable experience. We had repeatable timelines. So now every client that comes into the program, now that we do, they start in our first phase program, which is Ignite. It's 16 weeks long. But we can also now say, hey, in your first phase program, we average like 19.5 pounds down for our fat loss clients. So like,
that's awesome.
Hey, yeah, thank you. Trying to get better always. But that's something where now you have tangible, repeatable experiences. We now have our curriculum coincide with that. The course material that drips out. We don't want to just throw, I used to do this, it was a mistake I made. Here's 20 modules that I want you to learn. And you're with us for 16 weeks, and there's a whole library of stuff. No one's going to watch anything because it's overwhelming. So we drip out, 2 to 4 videos every 4 weeks. And we give it a consistent experience throughout the program and learning experience. Because if you try to teach everybody, every aspect of periodization when they're in their first 8 weeks in the gym, okay, so like, here's really complicated stuff. Here's like, here's carb cycling, here's deloading, here's, intensity. This is RIR, RPE. People are just going to not know what to do.
When they're just trying to eat enough protein for the day still, or whatever it is.
And so with that, I think that was huge for us, the getting the repeatable experience. And now, like, also within my team, when someone comes into the program, it's like, okay, so we have benchmarks for week 4, week 8, as they progress through the first phase of the program. Now we have the second thing to look forward to. We have a vision for, hey, you crushed these 16 weeks. Now what can we do with a little bit more time? Maybe retreats. So I think that was big for me. The timeline, and I'd say before I close up on this, is the sense of urgency for a 16-week program than an 80-week program is
than an 80-week program.
Yeah, I learned.
Yeah, totally. Speak a little bit more to the 16-week part. And within our Passion to Profits community, we have a belief about this, but pretty standard in the high ticket world. It's 12-week programs, 90 days. Why within our P2P community, why did you land on 16 weeks really being more of the sweet spot for that predictable front end program?
Yeah, so we had done 12 weeks in the past for like some time. I think we were like early on, it was like 12 weeks, 1,500. But then as we got more results, more experiences, we got better, improved our systems. We increased our prices over time. So with that being said, I think with, lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
Why 16-week programs versus 12?
Yeah, so the 16-week program, I know that you mentioned from experience, again, learn from people that have done it before, that it becomes just more of a routine. Like at 16 weeks, it becomes more of just like a thing that is like, okay, I might check in on Wednesdays, I track my nutrition, and it just becomes so routine that then people are locked in and it makes sense to go into the second phase program. Sometimes 12-week programs are more a means to an end, and kind of just, it's so common. People are just like, oh yeah, 12 weeks, like I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna lose 15 pounds, and then I'm just gonna see myself out. But 16 weeks lets it become a little bit more of just like a normal thing for people.
So let's transition that into point number 2. So the 3 things that changed. Number 1, upfront program, more predictable, raise the price. Number 2, you slowed down your company churn and increased your client retention. How did that have a major difference in you finally making that jump from that 60K stuck point per month to 80, 100, and even much higher months? But how did retention end up playing a big part in your revenue growth?
It's massive. I think that would probably be like the number one thing that like would break us from like, 50K months to going to like 80 or 100K months. And that's just like retention. And the reason being, and then just also thinking with the coach in mind, and like, how do you do this with integrity? Because like, yeah, money, cool. But it's like, you don't make a life-changing transformation always in 16 weeks. Someone wants to lose 50 pounds, you're going to need more time working with them.
Yeah.
And that's going to be agreed upon on either side. If you want something to really become a part of their lifestyle, get things to the point where you can't get them wrong, that's where you're going to want somebody, working with you for a longer period of time so you both can, get to the next level. So for us, that had been massive for us in terms of increasing revenue, but also client experience and really having groundbreaking experiences with our clients where people have lost 140 pounds. Many have been, I think we have, 10 or 15 over like 70 pounds. So that's where like really life-changing stuff happens.
It's amazing.
But you need more time. So for us, from like a revenue standpoint, having a vision that we can set for them into the second phase, we're like, oh, we're going to learn, you hit 20 pounds down the first phase, but now in the next 36 weeks, oh, we can hit 30 or 40. Or when you hit 30, we can start turning things back and we can start getting okay with the scale going up because we can take you through a lean surplus phase.
Yeah.
And now you're not fearing the scale going upwards because you've done it in a controlled way. So I just feel with integrity, it's good to have those next phase programs for people in your program, something to look forward to. And that's been huge for us with like when we've had clients with us now, many clients with us between 3 and I think 6 years.
Wow. So once again, it was built on the foundation of actually deeply caring about people, not just what's going to make me more money. What if you were to go back to when you were first learning the LTV method and first learning the retention system, what was like the 1 or 2 biggest breakthrough changes that you made that gave you confidence in the retention system?
The big changes we made, I think one of the early ones, as we said, when you have like 20, if you want to throw all your knowledge at somebody, which is taking you years and years to accomplish, and then you're going to send them like 20 module sets on day one, everything they're overwhelmed. And some people say you're delivering too much.
Yeah.
So there's a large value to 80-20ing that. And then people, you can still drip out that other, the 80% that gets the remainder, 20% of results. You can drip that out in those more advanced programs to keep people learning and implementing. But the real secret sauce is just you need time with accountability, time with the training wheels to really make things normal. And even to this day, like I think I'm kind of good at business, but I have accountability. So I'm going to stay in this community. I have people like around me pushing me to be better as well. And like, if you start drinking your own juice, thinking like you got everything figured out, like I think that's the perfect self-sabotage recipe. It's important to have those second phase programs to keep growing in. And so the changes we made was kind of removing some of the fluff from the first phase and just being like, this is what's going to get you results now. Just do these things, keep it simple. And then moving those into like our second phase program where we can drip those out. And like now the more important stuff or the less important stuff, the more advanced topics that are just minute details, people have such a strong foundation of like calories in, calories out, protein, progressive overload, that now they understand in context, this is less important than the fundamentals that you've already ingrained into what you do.
Yeah. And if you ever, anyone watching, if you ever want personalized support and how to like really dial this in, it is one of the signature things we work on called your effortless ascension roadmap, right? Really getting clear on like, when should you be delivering things over time? Because one of the big mistakes I see coaches make all the time is thinking more is better, right? Right. Giving all the modules and all the information up front. But the truth is, if you deeply care about helping people get results, less is more on the front end. Because a confused mind will say no, take no action, right, and get worse results. And that's what Kevin's referencing here. Okay, so you dialed in your front end program and raised your price. Number 2, you learned an actual retention system that minimized churn, improved retention. Last one, you started to learn and better understand the idea of leaky buckets. We call it at Champ Dev the maximization model. Maybe not the thing that you thought would unlock another 10K a month or another 6 figures a year, but many different times it did. How did learning how to look at your numbers and what we call sales efficiencies, the maximization model, how has that played a major difference in you constantly growing and improving your revenue and getting more from the same leads you're already getting, not needing to go viral every week to be a 7-figure coach? Because I do think there are some people out there like, man, if someone's doing $1 million, they're probably going viral and they probably have millions of followers and they're probably getting thousands of leads every week, but that's not always the case. How did leaky buckets and maximization model unlock a lot of revenue for you as well?
Yeah, so it's kind of like how we teach our clients, like if the secondary outcome you want is to lose weight, let's focus on the daily calories we're doing. Like what are we actually eating? What are our macros? If you're only looking at your revenue, but you don't know how you're getting there, then you're missing out. That's the secondary
Mm,
outcome. So like when you're looking at, okay, how efficient are we with opportunities? Like if we get 20 applications and we make one close, like, yeah, we got to close. That's good. But it's like, okay, are we just like not texting those people? Are we waiting too long? Are we not like taking advantage of like what we could actually like accomplish here? Like, are these people not getting back to? And then you're losing goodwill with your audience.
yeah.
So with that, you kind of can see where is the spots where you're losing people. It's like basketball too. If you don't know your numbers, like I think at the last event, like one of the examples I made was if you're a basketball coach and you notice your team is like you're shooting 75% from the 3 point, which is incredible, but you're missing like 75% of your layups, an easy shot. But at practice, you're shooting 1,000 3-pointers, but you never run layups. It's like, wait a minute, why are we 0-16? It's like, okay, let's get really good at the easy, low-hanging fruit. Let's
Yeah.
run some layups. And then like our 3-pointers, maybe we only shoot 60%, but like we're not going to give up the easy baskets.
Mm,
So when you look at your leaky bucket, it's like, what's the low-hanging fruit that you can just like, oh, my automation just sucks. Oh, it's not going out like I thought. And then that's why we get one close out of 20 applications. Oh, turn that on. Okay, now we're getting 4. But to know that, to know where your area of opportunity is, you need to know your numbers and you need to see, what is the drop off in this call? What is how many people from applications are actually getting on calls? And it's not something where like you install and forget it. It's like it's something you always keep up on, always looking at, just like we track our calories, just like we track our weights in the gym. And if you
yeah.
want to run a fine-tuned machine that's efficient, and not miss out on opportunities, got to know your numbers. You got to see where opportunity is.
Yeah. Good stuff, Kevin. What final advice, either what to do or what not to do? I know you like training in that way sometimes, like what not to do. If someone was watching in right now and they were wanting to grow their online coaching business, what final advice would you give them that has been critical or crucial as part of your constant growth?
I guess the advice that I would give is, I mean, one is going to be, yeah, get around other people that are doing the thing. And like, for me, there's not many people in my location that I can go
Mm,
and like learn from. Cause like maybe there's some awesome online entrepreneurs, but maybe we're in different wheelhouses and not very
sure.
similar businesses. But like when you're in a community like we have, and like we have great speakers and everything and at certain events, but also it's just the side conversations of like people like, hey, and it's literally sometimes the scariest, simplest stuff that can just double your business. It's like I think Jen one time we were at in I think this was in Austin, Texas, and she's like, yeah, I just delete all my stories and I put one with an application sticker, and then I get like 40 apps overnight. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, I get like 10 apps a week. Let me try that. And then boom, there's my 10 apps like overnight. And it's sometimes those little things that someone just shares that's working for them. And that's where it like happens when you have 30 people around you that are like, oh, I'm trying this stuff, I'm finagling stuff, and like this really worked. Oh, there's a sweet spot right here. So
Yes.
those kinds of things that I learned from other people, that's one that's huge. Staying coachable is definitely always one. And then I'd say, yeah, never thinking that you got it all figured out, because like there's always a bigger fish, there's always someone to learn from. And even if like you are, you got a huge business, like someone may be more efficient than you, and you got stuff to learn from there. Like maybe you get 400 apps on a weekly basis, but like you're getting 5 closes, where someone like Mike, you
Yeah.
get, let's say, 5 applications, but you're getting like 4 closes off of those. So there's always things to learn. There's always ways to get better. And like you never figure out the game. It's just like fitness is never an arrival point. You never arrive at fitness, or you never arrive at fit. It's a game to always play. Same thing with keeping your business in a good situation.
Yeah, especially coaches who already have established successful businesses. I think we really undervalue that point you just made, which is those side conversations, the small hinges that swing big doors, that new idea, that little thing. In your example of just like making one small change to your stories, you got 10 applications overnight instead of 10 in a week. Or I think of Anne Marie, she just shared that she just put Angelica's lead gen strategy in place, and there's like 40 calls booked and 3 sales in the first day. Like I'd have to go back and see the client when she shared, but it's like, especially students and coaches who are already successful, the value of having other people winning around you, constantly keeping ideas fresh, is so important. And if it's not for that, it's just Team Pink.
Keep it, baby.
It's the fun as well. This was Kevin, Brian, and I at go-karting at our most recent event as well. And just I'll end with that because Kevin, you said sometimes you could be at home and you could have your own circle. Entrepreneurship can feel lonely sometimes, especially as an online coach who works from your phone on social media, right? And so having the right community is super valuable, I have found as well. Speak to that as your final part. Like, how can entrepreneurship be lonely sometimes, and now having community actually keeps you energized?
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially when you reach a certain level, like I can't really complain about, certain situations that are going on, like, oh man, we only got, 5 leads last week, then like
Yeah.
10 leads, or like, but talking to some friends, they're like, yeah, dude, like my engagement's down, or like this is like not so great. So you got people where you can vent, like, the same thing on the flip side. Like if my dad's like venting about like spreadsheets at work and stuff, and I'm like, like I don't know much about spreadsheets, dad, but like when you have people you can vent to, you feel heard and like kind of they can resonate. That's why people love, like if you're a mechanic, you meet another mechanic, you're like, oh, do you guys use like, the wrench from like, do you go Ryobi or do you go XYZ? And like you can kind of really relate and you just feel in a way heard.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'm not a big woo-woo guy, but like honestly, it's really useful being those events too. Like I got frustrations, I got successes, but like I think it's really useful when like, hey, if someone's struggling with something, hey, I struggled with that like 3 months ago. Here's what we did. Maybe that'll help you. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If I'm struggling with something, I can like bring that up. And then someone's like, oh, I went through that too. And you kind of feel heard. And I think that
Yes.
that's a big piece of like having a group around you. Like if I want to do an Ironman, I'm gonna talk about people that like also have the same blisters from like running 20 miles in like one go and then like going and swimming for 2 miles. So all that being said, the power of community is huge. And then also like, again, you just learn from other people's mistakes. And, I have 9 years of though, and nine
Yeah.
years of mistakes that I get to help people with. And then we got, everybody's got a lot that they bring to the table.
Kevin, I mean this every time I say it. It's an honor continuing to be a part of your journey and your growth. It's so much fun watching you grow as a leader. But I was reminded of this conversation how much you care about people, your clients, and your audience. And so keep that up. Thank you for contributing what you did today during this conversation. For everyone listening in, drop ones in the chat just to wherever you see this, or hit the heart button just as a thank you for Kevin for showing up and bringing value. Kevin, thanks for your time. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
Talk soon. Bye.